Good afternoon, Chairman. We have
Thank you. Welcome everybody to our governance meeting, all of our board members, our staff, and our community involvement. First of all, we'd like to call this meeting open. It is 1:04. Say happy New Year, to everybody. Happy New Year. And we can go into our presentation to the committee.
Our first presentation, Chair, is the communications update. I'm going to call on Ariel Johnson, our communications manager, to deliver that report.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, CEO DeMassimo, the board, and our other colleagues who are here with us today. So before we get started, we did wanted to announce, before we look back in December, we wanted to announce a new exciting thing that the communications department is doing this year, and it's called a CatCast, which is a podcast. And we'll be doing, talking to local legislative leaders, county government, city government on all things transit. Our first episode will air January 31st with CEO DeMassimo, Chatham County Chairman, Chester Ellis, and County Manager, Mr. Kegler. So we did want to announce that. So be listening for that. It's going to be great. We're going to have many different topics to talk about. And we'll have many different city and county leaders joining us. Okay?
You may have noticed, I think it was in not this past week's snapshot, but the week before, we laid out the agenda for what that's going to look like over the coming months. And how it was going to also be able to tie into the master transit plan effort as it rolls out in the summer, and so forth. So again, it's going to be a very exciting, I think, communication event, and we're look forward to board members participating in that as well.
Yes, monthly, yes, ma'am. Every month we have a different guest. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, CEO DeMassimo. All right, so our CAT tracker, the December recap. In December, we had more than 1,100 new users download the CAT tracker app from Apple. And from Google, we had more than 300 new users download the CAT tracker, which is really, really good. That means the CAT tracker is still being used. And it means that people are still wanting to use it and still wanting to download it. Right now, between Apple and Google, we have more than 4,700 downloads. The communications department have a big goal for 2023, and that's to have at least 10,000 downloads of CAT tracker. Now, that's a big goal, but we think that we can reach it since we're already reaching 5,000 in January. So, that's the CAT tracker. Our service alerts are also doing well. We're seeing a steady increase. Right now we have 823 subscribers, which means 823 of our riders are getting all of our service alerts, our delay alerts, anything CAT. So we are really proud to see that steady increase with our tech service alerts. Social media check-in. Last month, we told you guys that we were going to do something different, and we were going to focus on something different with our social media to help us understand what we need to focus on and how we engage our public with social media. So we're seeing a slow growth with followers basically on all our platforms, which just means that we just got to get more out there. We have to, even if it's just going to the ITC, making sure that our riders are following us on social media, because this is another outlet that people know about CAT and what we're doing. So would
you explain the graphs a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
Facebook, the blue and the red.
Yes, ma'am. So each account, we look for a follower growth, page reach, and page view. So sometimes, like right here with LinkedIn, you might see this one, just because we're not getting as much follower growth as we would like. However, our page reaches, they're getting the most interaction on social media.
So what does that blue tell you? Let's look at Facebook, for example.
So that blue tells you the page reach, which is For December, we reached almost 5,000 people on Facebook.
5,000 people visited our Facebook.
No, ma'am, it just means that any of our posts, they might have seen, just like when you scroll, it doesn't mean that they liked it. It doesn't mean that they actually went on our page. It's just a reach, an interaction. However, on the bottom, we have page visits and we have 375. That means that these people actually searched for China Marion Transit. They actually went on our page and saw something. So that's the difference between the three titles.
So then the red is the people actually went on the page.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but then.
And the other side, for follower growth, you might not see that line just because we only had 2 new followers. So it's much lower, and that's what we are strategizing to work on for this year as well.
Ariel, does the color coding meaning?
Oh, no, that's just to show,
Right.
yeah, that's just to show the difference. It's not like anything else. I might be explaining wrong. So the blue is for page reach.
And the blue on LinkedIn don't mean the same thing.
No, it's just colors. Yeah, it's just colors.
So it does not mean the same thing.
No, the blue here means that we reach almost 5,000. The blue here means that we reach almost 1,500.
But it still means reach.
Yeah, it still means reach, just different numbers.
So then the green on Twitter is reach,
Yes,
and then the red on Instagram is reach.
yes.
And YouTube is reach. I think that's what you're asking. So they all mean reach.
They all mean reach, but just for the different outlets, the different platforms. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So December, we were mentioning 33 newscasts between Fox 28, WJCL, WSAV, and WLC in December. And so just a brief look at our upcoming events. We have our new operator graduation this Friday at 10 a.m. here in the multipurpose room. We have a pet vaccine clinic where we're partnering with the Humane Society on next Wednesday, January 25th from 10 to 12. We are working to do something for Black History Month, Women's History Month, Earth Day, and of course our Ride Appreciation Month. And I forgot to mention St. Patrick's Day Parade. But the board of directors is always welcome to join us in any of the events we are having, and we are happy to have a great year with you guys.
How many candidates you have for graduation?
Seven. Okay. Yes, and that ends my report.
And we here where?
Right here in the multipurpose room. Yes, thank you.
That's the most important number of the day, right? I agree. All right. Our next report is the service delivery operation report, and Dr. Meany.
Yes, ma'am. Happy New Year to all. Thank you, Ms. Faye. Thank you, board. I'm happy to say that our company is doing well. And with time, you're going to see that we're doing very, very well. The training, I said earlier on that when I got here was 9 weeks. It was streamlined to 5 weeks so we can get people here, train them well, and have them join the workforce. And that is so far working. Since we started the program, October 31st, we have been able to hire 13 individuals to join our workforce, which is great. We have 2, just last month, we had 2 fixed route and 4 paratransit. Paratransit is easy to come in because they don't require CDL. So, and I talked about it earlier on that we're about to launch a program where we're gonna hire non-CDL high school dropouts college and train them on our facility and get them to get CDL. And that's the only way we can speed up the process. And so we're trying to kick that start next month. We'll let the board know about it, how the program, how long, and what's the requirement to come in. And that was, right now, we need almost about 30 people to hire for the fixed route, which is, they all require CDL. It's gonna be very difficult. Though we're doing every week hiring on site, we don't have, if you look at the percentage of people coming in for the fixed route, it's okay, 2 and 3, but not the speed that I wanted it to go. So we're gonna change course and rather high non-CDL, train them to have a CDL and stay with us for 2 years. That will be part of the agreement. And it will be 6 to 7 weeks on site.
So you said you're looking to hire 30 fixed route drivers?
Yes, that's the number that we need to be full staff, and we're talking about 98 drivers. Right now, we're about 61, plus people that we anticipate gonna retire. So we have to get this program running. Because if not, we might have buses here and not have people to take them out.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When it comes to reaching that goal, what are the strategies you anticipate being able to do if you're not already currently doing this?
Well, we started a weekly on-site hiring, which is great. People, as a matter of fact, this coming up class, I have 2 colleagues from MADA that Dumas brought them to my office. And when I get in, they would train me. So they're all from Savannah. So what we have to do is, I think we have to be letting people know that we're doing this. So he headed and walked in with a friend, old friend. I know them like 20 years ago. So they're ready to join. They have CDL, seasoned bus operators. Larry Baird, yeah. He called me this morning. So they will join our next class, which is February 13th. So, you know him, yeah. When I get mad, he threw me out. He and Mr. Dumas, yeah. So
I think the idea of bringing folk in with non-CDL and letting them go through our training will help you boost that number.
yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
I think that's great.
Yes, that's the only way that will speed up the process. And they are even much better because they don't know anything but ours. When people come from different organizations, sometimes it works out, but this is like they don't know nothing about transit. We're just gonna bring them in and groom them the way we want, the way we want them to work. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're gonna let the board know when the program is gonna start and how long the program will be. So that's on the training side. So my next slide is, this is something that I want to explain to you, the board. I guess we haven't been doing a good job to explain. In public transit, we have a window of 0 to 5 minutes. That means if a bus is scheduled to be at a certain point at a certain time, the bus cannot be there early. So it's at 0. So if it's 10 o'clock, the bus have to be there 10 o'clock or 5 minutes after. Because if you run too early, you're going to leave more people behind. We want you to run at least 5 minutes late. So if you see on this slide, you can see, well, that's why this is Ms. Faye came up with this template. And nobody has been able to explain to the board why we report this to you guys, because we have early departure and then late departure. So if you look at, for example, the 17, right, on the AM side, it gets to the ITC 20 minutes late. All right, so this is the data that I have to look at and find out why is it coming to ITC 20 minutes late? And then what we're planning to see, can we add a bus? Can we enhance that route? So this is why all this data is reported to you guys, so you know what's going on. And I think if we haven't done a good job, I'm happy to do that. And then when you come on the PM side, it's also 13 minutes late, coming in late. And then on the early side, which is something that I don't want to see at all. Because if it's running early, chances are it's going to leave a lot of people behind. So far, if you compare this to previous report, it's better now because I'm investigating why is the bus running early. And what we plan to do this year, we're going to have a dashboard where somebody will sit and monitor all our buses. So when I was driving the bus, when I'm running late, the radio room will call me, say, you're running too early. We want you to slow down. And if you're running too late, tell them the reason why. So when people know that we've been monitoring them, it's all driver behavior, so our next month report, when we have the dashboard going on, we're gonna do better. I promise you, board, we got a lot of stuff in place. We're gonna make the system much better.
One
So-
of the things Dr. Lee and I are working related to this, which you just referred to, we're working really closely together, and we Director Edminster chairs the report that typically reports out on planning. This is new year, and we really wanted to kick off in a different way. So you recall that last year through the year, you oftentimes saw ridership reporting in planning. You also saw it in operations, and sometimes it was unclear as to why we were doing it. We said, so Dr. Manny and I sat down and really worked diligently on this, and we said, performance is very important, and planning's role in this is it's not in terms of tracking the performance and management of the on-time performance. I think that's operational.
Operations, yeah.
What planning needs to be is in that piece of figuring out where new services are going. And,
I have a question.
yes,
What causes most often buses to be behind schedule, to be late?
Two things, traffic, and sometimes also it's a driver behavior. So let's say if you get to the end of the line, you schedule to leave at a certain time, you're on the phone talking to somebody or you're walking around. And if the driver don't leave on time, of course, he's gonna be running late. So these are all things that can be monitored. So with our dashboard, right now, we can't see the whole system, but with the dashboard, we're gonna see an entire fleet. Wherever everybody is, we can have access to talk to them, say, hey, you're supposed to leave. And that's one. But mostly it's traffic and also ridership count, like Ms. Faye saying, if a route has, let's say 2 buses and you take one out or one breaks down, the other one will be picking everybody that is left. So that driver is going to be very late because it's designed for two buses on that route. One breaks down and our fleet is also over their useful life. So it's a lot of stuff that goes in. So this is all, like I said, we're gonna be monitoring all this to see why does the driver come to ITC late. And that was why Ms. Faye got this template, so that you guys will know what's going on.
Director Stone, one other thing we should mention to you that's related to a project that we have related to that is Dr. Manning was just referencing, sometimes we run late because of traffic. And
Right.
sometimes traffic is a product of how many cars are on the road, but sometimes it's a product of how many cars are on the road and how well the signal system is working, especially in our most congested corridors, our most heavily used corridors, to move that traffic on through. So you may recall, we just got an update and we're making tremendous progress on Waters and Abercorn with the implementation, that 100% funding project that we got from GDOT. To outfit our buses and so forth with that transit signal prioritization that will help all the traffic in the corridor move more efficiently and will be particularly helpful in making sure that our buses clear congested intersections quickly. So we're very excited about that, but it's those kinds of things that we're doing that are going to help start to address some of the
Yeah, because I mean, really, that's pretty important, because if people don't feel like they can rely on CAT to get them where they need to be, when they need to be there, then it really could hurt our ridership. And I know you haven't gotten to the paratransit part, but when I was reading through that, the number of no-shows is alarming to me. That I would think that if you would have a certain number of no-shows, then after a while, be it 3, be it 4, then, this person may not be eligible to use paratransit. I mean, I just think it's terrible that somebody would book a reservation.
Okay. Yeah. Can we go to paratransit, please?
Director Stone, we just lost you.
She wanted the next slide where,
Real quick, I was gonna mention to the earlier point is that when we get to the planning report today, you're gonna see a very different planning report. We're gonna be focusing in today, in particular on the master transit plan, but over the next few months, you're gonna see a real different focus on planning. It's not gonna be duplicative information about ridership and so forth, but it'll pair very well and make a whole lot more dynamic operations report as well.
But I had one question about on time, early or late. When we talk about arriving at CAT Central, but what about each stop? Do we know what stop is people are being missed or?
yeah, so the whole route is designed with time points. So it's not every stop that you can see, but the time points is in between. So let's say the 17 from inbound coming downtown, all that route, it's a lengthy route, right? But we have time points between. So the time point is pretty much to gauge them to see where they are. Yeah, so that's That's how we find out if they're running late or early. Director Helen, are you back?
Also, on the paratransit side, a no-show doesn't mean the person didn't show. If the person canceled too
That's
late,
what I was gonna
that's
explain,
also
yes.
considered a no-show.
Yes,
So it's not that the person is not there. If the person was at the doctor's office and the doctor's running late, and they're supposed to catch a ride at 1:15, they can't call at 12:45 and cancel. That's considered a no-show, because it's outside of the hour.
yeah, we have a
So
window.
it's not that the person is not, and I'm not saying it doesn't always work that way, but sometimes it does. If the person is at their destination and they call in too late, that's still considered a no-show.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. My concern is for the ones that don't bother to call and aren't there. I mean, I hope we keep a record of that because that's just, it hurts everybody.
It does.
Yeah, and you're right. You said something earlier on that I agree with you. If our service is not reliable, then people are going to find alternative transportation, and that's not
Right.
what we want. If our system is reliable, then that's how you increase ridership. I've been preaching on that, and that is so true. If you look on this slide on the paratransit, we compare this to the month of November, there's some change, and the reason why we went down from 511 to 484 is because we're able to hire drivers and train them to join that workforce for the month of December. So the more people we get, then it's not going to be any cancellation. Some of these cancellations are people call out and says, like Director Taylor said, and says, hey, you're late because you didn't call out early. Some of them also is we couldn't afford it. We have more than we can provide service. So all this is again pertaining to manpower. Right now, paratransit is doing good. And if you compare this trend, you're going to see that the no-shows are going down because we have the manpower. The vehicle fleet is also another question. And we have 10 coming in. It's going to get better once we have people, staff, and we have new vehicles. You know, we're going to be known very well in the city. This is all coming up.
Can you explain to me, missed trips versus cancellations? Does missed trip mean that?
That's on us. So the missed trip is if a bus don't show up, let's say you have 100 bookings, just for example, and we can only have 50% of that. So that's we can only, out of the 100, we can only service 50. Yeah, so that would be missed, yeah.
The other 50 is missed.
It's missed, yeah.
And cancellations, folks calling.
It's for them canceling. So when they do the manifest is done before the next day. So on the manifest, you have, let's say 100 bookings. During the course of the day, people cancel. Like the Director Taylor explained, they cancel because doctor canceled appointment, so many. That is on the passenger. The missed one is from us. We couldn't provide that service. Yeah.
Director, the difference though, if you notice it to the definition, it's a cancellation if it's at least 2 hours or scheduled pickup, but as Director Poe was describing, falls within that window, inside that window, it would be considered a no-show. So that's part of the difference in that too.
And the definitions are there on that same slide about what is missed trip. It explains. Yeah. Sure.
Can't ever cancel,
Do we ever cancel?
no show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
That's the missed trip.
that's a mystery. So if let's say you are scheduled to pick up at 10 and we don't have the manpower, that's a mystery. So that's on us, on the agency. But if you call to cancel, it's not on us. That means you decide to cancel for whatever reasons. That's the only difference.
Let me ask you a question, because I was, I'm trying to get more information from the organization, but their clients depend on paratransit. Now, their concern is that they have a schedule, that these folks need to be there. And then they have a schedule, people have to leave. The issue seems to be with the leaving. Do they book the pickup and the drop-off time at the same time?
So what it is the manifest is that people that have booked advance, and then during the day, we also have people scheduled to be picked up. Now, Ms. Faye is working very hard to upgrade our software. When I came on board, I told them this is not right. So let's say I am supposed to pick Mr. Taylor at the location. let's say Ogeechee by the Walmart. Director Cody and Ms. Faye are also requiring a pickup. Our system doesn't do what we call capacity. Our system doesn't do that. So I'm picking him, I'm dropping him up, and I'm coming empty. Meanwhile, we're sending somebody from us to go pick the two of you up within the same 1 mile distance. So they knew what I had Rock Region Metro, the system will let you know. So before you drop Mr. Taylor, you know that on your tablet, you're gonna see all this popped up. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 within that area. That's efficiency.
That's efficiency.
Right.
So when I came on board, I'm like, no, I got with Power Transit. So now you're gonna need more people. You're wasting time. You're gonna delay because now somebody's coming from downtown here to go to Ogeechee to pick you up. He just dropped him off. Why don't you connect the system software will populate all that and then tell the driver you have 5 more within that same area. So this is all coming up. Yeah, it's just like
One question that she asked, I want to be sure that we answer is, when a paratransit driver schedules their trip, do they schedule both the drop off and the pickup return trip at?
yes, because in essence, yes, because FTA require that you drop somebody off, you have to bring them back.
Right, and the
Yeah.
issue seems to be this agency is that they're done, but they're still waiting 30 to 45 minutes for the pickup.
For the pickup, yeah. So in the morning, you say, pick me up at 9 o'clock, drop me at my doctor's office. By 3 o'clock, I'll be done. So in between that driver, we can load them up for other stuff.
But then you don't get to be at 3 o'clock, so I'm already waiting 30 minutes for 3 o'clock pickup and not 3:30.
Well,
Maybe we'll talk to you about that specific, because we want to solve for that and we
Yeah.
need to understand more of the details.
Well, I had to leave to come here, but I need to get the agency to find out exactly
Okay,
what the issues and then, because I do plan to bring it back.
perfect. Thank you so much.
and I'll have more to one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay. All right, can we go to the next slide, please?
Recommend, I think, everybody. Sometimes you can run late because if I'm going from here to the south side, I may not go straight. You have to pick up other people along the way. I don't go sometimes straight to my destination because it's a shared ride.
Yeah.
And so you can't account for, like you said, traffic.
Right.
You can't account for the ramp not working. And so every minute counts. And I always tell other customers, the further away you go, the longer it will take you to get there.
Yeah.
Don't think you know, they get you there on time, but you may have to get picked up earlier in order to get there on time because the distance. And you have to pick up other people along the way. So they might be going the same direction.
That's why we have a window 30 minutes earlier or 30 minutes late.
And other situations too, that's beyond our control.
Yes, yes. I mean, like this morning I was coming, it's all of a sudden traffic, like, yeah, you can't, yeah.
Cities decide, or county decide, they will block the church area off, because of that,
Yeah. So we on the maintenance side. All right. We'll skip the marine. Okay. We go to the marine real quick before maintenance. Okay, go. All right. So on the marine side, the good news is that we've been running on one boat all this time. We got one of them fixed, and so now we're running 2 ferries, which is a good news. It's kind of up and down, and I'll talk about what we put in place if the ferry goes up. That'll be on my last slide. We'll get to that. Okay, now we can go to maintenance. Perfect. Okay, so I want you all to look at this number, the 19,782. And this has never been explained to the board, and I want you guys to just be aware of that. So the national average is 14,000 miles And what this number does is that how long before your buses break down? The FTA standard is 14 and up. So you can run 14,000 miles before your bus breaks down. We are exceeding that number. Although our fleet is over their useful life, but the mechanics are doing a very good job maintaining it. So whenever you see this number on the next slide, on the next report, please mean distance between vehicle failure. That means how long can we run before our buses break down? And so that's why we're reporting this to you, that I'm proud of what the shop is doing, though it's costing us money because we keep buying spare parts. These vehicles are over 100,000 miles. They're designed to go 100,000. Some of them are 80,000, 94,000 miles over. And yet still, this is a good number. So the higher the number, the better. That means we're running 18,782 miles before our bus breaks down. That's good for old fleet, yeah. So I just want you to be aware of that. Like I said, the national standard is 14 to 15,000 miles. We're doing 19,000 on an old fleet, so we feel good. Dr. Robinson.
Alan mentioned something important on marine operations. I know you noted that we have two vessels.
Yeah.
Right now, actually, the Susie King Taylor was having issues last week. We had one vehicle operational for a good part of last week. I wanted to just take that moment to reiterate the request that we have in to our delegations during the General Assembly's work this year for $6 million out of the Georgia Transit Trust Fund that will be dedicated to the required match we need for both the THUD earmark for the third ferry as well as the grant that we expect to hear from in the next month or so for the fourth ferry, so that we can get all four of the ladies onto their well-deserved retirement and be in a fully operational state and a reliable relational operational state. So that's really important. And I'll this week's snapshot, I'll be sending some more information out to the board. We attended the Sandy board meeting this morning, and this was a topic of conversation there too. And all members of that board are going to be working diligently to support our request. You also may recall, and on this Georgia Transit Trust Fund, this is the ride-hail, ride-sharing funded effort, and that to date, CAT has never seen any of that funding. And we all know that we have Uber, Lyft, and all kinds of things down here that are contributing, but we've not seen any of that funding. It's largely gone to the Atlanta metro area, and I think Athens has also gotten, I think, a $12 million commitment out of that at one time. So we believe that our needs are well stated, we're deserving, and that's something we're going to really be pushing hard for during the session, and appreciate your support in that as well.
Yeah. Are you saying that currently we only have one ferry that's running?
Well, I think the Susie King Taylor is running again right now, but last week we were down to one, and now that we have two again.
We do have two. Because what my question was going to be is that vessels have a load capacity, want to carry so many people at a time. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happens when you get down to one? You got a bunch of folks standing at the dock wanting to get on. Does the captain say, "Hold up, I can't take anymore"? What do you do?
No, we absolutely.
We have
I mean, it's a Coast Guard regulation, it's a federal regulation, and so yeah, it just means that we can't get people moving back and forth as efficiently as possible. So this need is so great, and we're very fortunate that those the two ferries that we did get the grant funding for came through. We're very fortunate that Senator Warnock did such a great job on the THUD earmark, and I think that we feel very positive about the one last pending grant application. We got Squire Patton Boggs gave us an update last week and told us that they're expecting announcements of those within the next month or two. So we just got to be in a position to match, because may remember, and Ms. Cutter, I think is going to mention this a little bit in her report, we want to be clear about where we are with local match. I know that we've all heard, we've all been very excited with the bipartisan infrastructure law and the IIJA, that, you know, there is funding in there for CAP. It's the same dollars that we've been getting, plus about 30% additional. But that 30% additional that was committed requires match. And right now, we don't have that local match, so we cannot access or leverage those funds. And that's why things like this are so important, is, you know, we've got individual grants that we need to fully meet our obligation on, get these projects delivered, and we have opportunities like that. I know we're going to talk a little bit about T-Splosh in a bit, where that's exactly the kind of thing where T-Splosh can become that, if there is one in the future, can become a part of that local funding structure, along with the great partnerships we have with the county, with the city, with folks like Sandy, Convention Center, and so forth, in delivering all the things that meet the needs of our passengers and riders here in Savannah and Chumley County.
Well, kudos to our maintenance crew.
Yeah. They did a good job. Yeah. Okay, go to the last slide. Okay, so in closing, a lot of updates from my end. So we increased the workforce, like I was saying, by just having this weekly hiring. And our goal is to launch that program, get our CDL folks to come in and train them to have a CDL and work for us, unless they will contractually have to stay with us 2 years before they can go anywhere. Because it costs almost $8,000 to train. Yeah, so the paratransit holiday. So in the past, the schedulers will have to be here during the holiday, like Christmas, New Year. I reach out to me and Wendy, and the schedulers reach out to Rock Region, where I used to work, and they have a system that they can do all the scheduling before the holiday, so that those schedulers can also have a holiday. So for the first time in CAT, we did that and it worked pretty well. So just want to share that with you. The fixed route missed trips, if you can all recall, my report for December said I'm going to explain this to you all in detail. So what happens is that we have certain routes that were suspended due to manpower. Clever was still reporting. What is that one called? City scheduler, the 20, the 11. So Clever is seeing that this route is supposed to go out. It doesn't go out. So that's why we have all those high numbers. It was like 1,800. If you have 3,000 trips, missed trips, then that means we didn't do, we have the whole trips is designed by 5,900. And half of that was gone, reported missed trip. So I look into them like, oh, this is wrong. So that was why. So if the 20 is not in service, the 11 is not in service, you had the old one called City Circular. Yeah, all this is in Clever. So Clever is reporting that, oh, this route was supposed to be serviced, they didn't go out. So it's missed trip. And I'm like, no. So we clean that up, and, and moving forward, you're gonna see all those low numbers. Yeah. Also the graduation, communication talked about it, is a big deal to my department and CAT as a whole. When people are appreciated for going through this program, and the first time we did it, they were so happy. So the next one, due to everything that was going on, we postponed it, and Friday, we're gonna do another graduation. Board members would appreciate if you can all help us out to let them feel good. The training wasn't easy. They have to go through so many stuff, and the fact that they want to be here, we just want to appreciate them. So if you can join us Friday, is that Friday? Okay, that would be great. Yeah, the Marine Service, I had my boss walked up to me, Dr. Manny, we got to put a plan in place. Yes, ma'am. So, so he said now, and I want to see it now, tomorrow. Yes, put that in place. I said, okay, ma'am. So I put a general order. So we got a general order. That means that if the ferry is not working for any reason, there's a bus bridge. So you should see how the general order was structured. And I said, ma'am, do you like that? I said, that's good. Yeah. So it makes me feel happy. So that is what everybody's using. All we have to do the Marine Corps operations and say we need a bus bridge. The step-by-step instructions all day, and where to pick them up, where to take them, and all that is state. It's a very good general order. And I was instructed by my boss to do it, so. He said, I want it now. I said, yes, ma'am. So for the first time, we have a system in place to cover the Marines should they go down until we get.
That's really important.
Yeah.
When that really did come to bear, right in the middle of the holidays, and you may recall this, every ferry was down.
Yeah.
And we had 3 days, and there were people who needed to get to it from their
Yeah.
jobs, and less to it from their jobs at the convention center. And there were 3 days when I was getting at least 6 or 7 calls every day from folk on that side that were trying to get their employees back and forth. And we had activated a bus bridge before, but we didn't have the process in place
Yes.
where it just could happen like this. You know what I mean? So there were a whole lot of gyrations, and Dr. Manny did a really fabulous job of
Thank you, ma'am.
putting this in place in a routine way that it can be activated immediately, anytime, especially
yeah.
right now with the ladies.
Yeah.
Oh, good now.
Yeah, she didn't even come in my office. She's standing at the committee. I want that now today. I said, yes, ma'am. So this is very important. So, so we got that in place. So whenever we have any problem with the ferry, or it's all step by step, call, and then we have everything, where to go, where to pick them up, and all that. It's if you all want, I can send you a copy of it. Yeah. The transit vehicle purchase, we got a PO, means purchase and order in place. We're trying hard to get it, all the 10 of them equipped with radio, fare boxes, cameras and all that. Probably the end of the month, or if not, mid of next month. It's a process. So when we get here, we're gonna let you know, you'll join us. And let the world know that we're going full electric.
Dr. Manny did a great job on that, and I'll tell you, he was excited, was when we had the 35th anniversary and the holiday
Yeah.
event. Chairman Ellis got to go out and
Yes.
get on those vehicles and was so.
So happy, yes.
So we were, and as a matter of fact, the mayor did as well.
Yeah, the mayor did as well.
Absolutely.
Well, I am super impressed with the innovations, the work you guys are putting into making CAT run smoothly. And I think that the camaraderie and the collaboration that's being done among the staff is what's making this all work.
Yes,
So I'm impressed.
thank you, Dr. Robinson. Thank you so much. Okay, on that note, if anybody have questions, reach out to me and I can do one-on-one, so you understand how the system works.
Very good report.
Yes, thank you.
Very all right, and then we've got the financial update, which is always exciting. Another strong collaboration.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be presenting the financial update for the month of December and wanted to remind the board. First slide, please. Okay, we are embarking upon the fiscal year 24 budget. And with that process, the message to all managers is that our goal is to provide excellent public transportation. And that goal is led by, first of all, the policies that this board develops that provides guidance to us as we move forward and prepare for the FY 24 budget. Then it also involves efficient administrative and operating procedures to help get us there, with the goal of safe, reliable, and convenient public transportation, not only fixed route, but also paratransit and our ferry services and our mechanic shop who keep all of this going. which makes up our human resources, also our administrative side of things. And the most important thing that we have to take into consideration with the preparation of this FY24 budget process, are we meeting the community needs? That's going to be our focus. It's going to be guided, of course, by the policies and the feedback that comes back from this board. And if there are requests that doesn't fit in meeting the community's needs as it relates to excellence in public transportation, it's going to be put on the back burner. Okay.
Just got one thing to mention there too, and you're gonna hear a little bit more about that in the next report, is that one of the other tools, in addition to listening to our board and taking that feedback, is the master transit plan, how that's gonna be play such a key and vital role in helping us figure out how to meet community needs, because the community needs are changing.
Yeah.
And the notion of how do we meet that, we've got, as you pointed out, I think with some of the earlier reports today, we've got new tools in our toolkit. And we're thinking in a different way about how to really meet that need.
And it all equates to sound fiscal stewardship. Month of December, CAT is still in a good financial position. And as I go through the report, it will reflect such. Of course, a lot of it, when you see the month in balance is still because of position vacancies, but it's also because of efficiencies that we're adding and we're improving on every day. For the month of December, our revenues exceeded our expenses, primarily because of the huge payment in transit tax revenue that we received from Chatham County. It was a little over $5 million for the month of December. Matter of fact, it was $5.7 million. And we talk about how that fluctuates. Some months it may be 83,000. The month of December, which was anticipated, that's a high month because people are paying their property taxes in November. So that's why that number was great. Expenses down, primarily because still of the staffing shortages. But right now we're looking really good financially.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I asked this question for Chatham County's budget on Friday, and I want to understand whether you all are the same or different. But Chatham County, when I was looking at what our revenues and our shortfalls, and I said, well, we have a lot of vacancies. And they said, yes, but we budget for those. So what you're telling me is you are not actually budgeting for these positions that are not filled. Is that correct?
If you look at the second column, that's the budgeted column. Yes, we do budget for positions, but savings comes in when these positions are not filled. That's why the second column, the title is actual.
Right.
But we do budget for every position that the board has approved as a part of the budget. But when they're not filled, that turns into savings.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand it.
Okay. Yes.
And maybe I'm reading this wrong. On the actual revenue versus the budget revenue. Am I seeing this correctly that we spent more than we budgeted for, or we took in more?
We took in more because remember the budget is straight line. Over 12 months, it's straight line, okay? All right.
And the year-to-date revenue difference of the year-to-date expense revenue. My brain. We have spent $3.5 million less than we expected to. Is that primarily
Yes.
staffing?
That's correct.
But it's
Actual
more. So had all those positions been filled, we would have had budget to cover it, but we
That's
didn't
correct.
actually spend it.
That's right.
This goes back to.
Well, that's,
Was as well.
I mean, I find that a little troublesome. I mean, if we were fully staffed, we wouldn't be able to afford it.
We,
If we
And what
were-
we said, Director, was if we were fully staffed, we would be able to afford it.
That's correct.
Because we budgeted for it.
Right.
The money is there. We just didn't spend it all. We actually spent less because all the positions were filled, which means we have on the year-to-date expenses, we have a $3.4 million positive difference that had all the positions been filled, we would have spent that and it would have been a zero out.
But that's not necessarily good, that's, have that on the hand.
Well, we have reserves that are money.
now there
So-
are other things that.
We would not have-
produce- Go ahead, Director Stone.
No, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand. So the difference from those unfilled positions went into our surplus.
They're still in the operating account, and here's why. Remember, union
Okay.
negotiations. That impact took effect January 2nd. So the first time we'll see those pay increases will be on the paycheck that employees receive this Friday. These numbers are going to look totally different January moving forward. And as we continue to fill positions, you're going to see these gaps close because those savings will no longer be there. And when we prepare the fiscal year 24 budget, it's going to be higher than
Right.
23 because we have to budget for every approved position.
But Director, a lot of they're in the operating budget, not in the reserves budget.
That's right.
That's the difference. So it doesn't mean we're in, you know what I mean?
That's
We're not, the concern you just expressed.
We're going to get to that because we just moved some more money to reserves. We're going to get back, well, we'll be at that goal that was set of 7.5 some odd million dollars. We're there, okay? The revenues by category. You see that special district tax, $5.7 million. That was really the boost in revenues for the month of December. Also, our investment account, we're earning about $25,000 a month in interest. So all of these things are working together to better prepare us for FY24, to cover us in case of an emergency. We have a reserve that's going to be there, investment plus interest to get us through. We didn't have to rely upon a line of credit. And hopefully in the years to come, we'll never have to rely upon debt to meet payroll. Okay. Here is the,
Did you say 25,000 a month?
yes, ma'am. That's what the other was. Yes, $55,000. The expenses by
A
category.
month?
Yes, we're doing that fund that we've invested in is doing quite well. Remember, we have, let me see what the balance was. We have about $6 million we had about 6, make sure. Yeah, we had, at the end of November, we had $6.5 million sitting there that they invested. Okay, the expenses by
It's a good
category.
return.
Yes, it's doing quite well. Very pleased with it. Very pleased. Expenses by category, even though there are position vacancies, you see salaries and wages is the highest percentage of spending. And your benefits are still at 33%. So. Cash receipts for the month of December is outlined. You see that special district tax, $5.7 million. Our paratransit allocation, that straight line over 12 months of $493,874. Our poor fees for the month, actual cash receipt was $55,121. We'll be getting our grant allotments for November, December. We've put in the draw requests just this month, so you'll see that reflected on your January report. At the end of December, in the operating account, we had $10.9 million. Don't get excited because January, you're going to see that's, but we prepared. So we're in good standing. We'll still be in good shape in January too, though. When comparing the actual versus budget, this kind of gives you a reflection of where we are comparing the budget to our actual. And I know Dr. Robinson is going to say, wow, that red under benefits. It's a reason. During the month of December, employees take vacation. We have, of course, the holidays, and all of that is considered a benefit. So you would expect December to be higher than any other year, and it's reflected in your dollars and what we spent on benefits because of that. Holidays, a lot of employees taking vacation, and we have to categorize that as a benefit. Everything else is doing quite well in terms of budgetary compliance. Here you are, Director Lockett. Our goal for our operating reserves, 3 months of operating budget, $7.5 million. At the end of November, we had $6.5 million. The interest plus the other interest that we accumulated directly to the investment account was $21,663, and other interest that we received was around $4,000. So as you see, doing quite well at the end of the month, December, our balance in our investment account was $6,526,116. We just did a transfer last week. Your next month report will show compliance with the goal of $7,515,544. So that's really, really a good feeling to know that we have a reserve fund to fall back on. I must say, that should remain at all times. So don't think we shouldn't be trying to put more there, because you never know when we may need it. We need to keep $7.5 million at all times. Now, as our budget grows, this number will grow. So once you all approve the budget for FY 24. If that budget is higher than the budget for FY 23, then this number will grow, which means we have to add more dollars to it to be in compliance with the approved goal. Our action item for the month of December is the SPLOST 7 agreement. And that was approved. It was on consent agenda of the county on Friday. And that was approved. Is that correct, county commissioners? All right, very good.
Quick question on that. I think there's been a lot of SPLOST.
Seven.
7.
So, Did we vote on that?
2020.
We voted on that in 2020. And then, yeah. And then
We were behind in getting that.
that's the answer.
So this is not, this is not what you'll see moving forward in your spots. But I suspect that, you know, at the time, as we all know, in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of change. So what they had, some things just weren't, we weren't as diligent in pursuing bringing closure now. But, you know, we're very fortunate that we have such a good, excellent working relationship with the county. So we've been continuing to operate with the commitment that was made. You know, we originally had submitted for SPLOST 7, we had a project list of 20 million. Where we landed was 10. And so we have worked diligently to make sure that the commitment of that 10 was prioritized to needs. But we knew, just properly, we needed to have that IGA, that agreement in place. And the county worked, and our attorneys and their attorneys worked together to make sure we got that completely buttoned up. So yes, we're like getting in place, but it's in place.
That's all.
Yeah, but I read it, but it sounds like, it sounds like this is money, if something's left over.
Oh, I mean, that's actually the good part. So, we originally had requested 20, we ended up getting a $10 million commitment, and we're so deeply appreciative of the partnership with the county. What the county did in the agreement that they just passed was to say that if in fact
Yes.
the SPLOST performs well where there is an excess of original projection, at that time, no commitment, no specific commitment, but at that time, they would consider other funding needs we have and potentially award more funds and go back and amend this IGA to give us more funds.
But we actually have the $10 million.
We do.
I can't read this thing, I said, no.
We have the $2 million and it's fully committed every time of it.
Okay, but the extra part that I read was about if they
Yes.
have money left over, they're gonna give us some.
Part of that great part.
They will consider.
Yeah, consider.
And they, as Mr. Massimo says, they have just been the county has just been very, very supportive. And we do believe if extra dollars come in through SPLOST, that they will give CAT strong consideration.
But that goes back to the work you guys do. Pretty strong partnerships and really selling the CAT message that we are a vital part of this community. And we deserve their support because without us, a lot of our people won't ever get what they can do. So again, kudos to the staff.
I think there's actually two pieces to that, and I give all the credit in the world to Ms. Cutter on this, is that you all know that you as a board, you provided the leadership to this, and you have demonstrated the commitment to excellence in financial management. And so it's one about demonstrating the need of what we provide the community, but it's also saying we're a worthy partner to be your financial partner, because you know that if you commit funding to us, we're going to manage it well. We're going to deliver with excellence. You're going to see it transparently. And Ms. Cutter, as CFO, has just done absolutely, and her staff have done an extraordinary job of that. And you all have as well. Your commitment to saying this is how we're going to do business at CAT is what has made it possible for us. So thank you all. I think everybody deserves kudos.
That's all the board is.
Absolutely.
To add to that, remember that SPLOST is collected over a 6-year period. So we have a ways to go. And I think each of you all clearly understand where we are with the cost of the ferries. As a part of SPLOST, a big chunk will come out to support the ferries. Now, as Mr. Massimo said, we have some new revenue sources that we hope that we received in FY24. That's going to help us with all of that. And we're going to, of course, keep you all posted of where CAT ends up with these new revenue sources and how it will impact our capital plan moving forward. Recruitment for December. We had 4 events during the month of December. And the chart, the first on December 1st, a military recruitment, 4 people stopped by to talk about CAT, but there were no interviews or no offers held on that day. We do, as Dr. Manning shared, the every Friday interviews here at CAT Central. Attendees to 1 interview and 1 offer came out of that. There was a scheduled CAT class at Moses Jackson, but they canceled. And the Friday interviews on the 9th at CAT Central, 2 attendees, 1 interview and 1 job offer was made. The human resources stats for the month of December, we had 25 applicants, conducted 17 interviews, 10 pre-screenings, 8 new hires, and 4 recruiting events. The onboarding, paratransit 4, fixed route 2, fixed route supervisor 1, and 1 position filled in finance, the accounting specialist. The number of exits, I remember the board, I think it was Dr. Robinson asked about this last month. We had 3 exits during the month of December, 2 paratransit drivers and the safety, security, and risk manager.
Mr. Cup, that
Yes.
fixed route supervisor, is that a promotion? Or did you hire in a supervisor?
That was a new hire, Mr. Coates, from the outside. Yeah, from the outside. Okay. What was coming as we were preparing this report, and I'm sure you all read the information about the ferry boat vendor protests. Last week, was it, Mr. Massimo? The response was sent out to the vendor. Everything was solid, above board. Haven't heard anything as of yet from the vendor. So, but wanted you all to know that that response did go out on Friday.
The way our process works, just for the board to know this on the sort of the operations management side, is that when there's a vendor protest like that, it goes through a process where the staff who are involved make a recommendation to me. Then I actually make a decision. We issue the decision, which is what we did last Friday. And then we are at that point free to proceed with the contract. And we upheld the award that you all made that we presented to you. So we'll now be proceeding forward with the contract and getting those 2 periods ordered. And then we will brief you in more detail
Yes.
at an executive session.
Yes.
At the board.
And also wanted to add, with a bid of this size, over $11 million, pretty much can expect a protest, particularly if the low bidder did not receive it. And sometimes even a vendor that was not the low bidder will protest based on experience and other factors that something they may come up with. Very competitive process, an $11 million bid. So typically a protest is not unusual.
The other thing I think that is good news for all those vendors who did first.
More to come.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
We got 2 other, either earmark and or a grant come in, and they'll be more very bid on it. We welcome everyone's bid.
And I think the important part for us as board members is that we depend on staff to follow the policies
That's right.
as outlined to ensure the legitimacy
That's right.
of the decision made.
That's our job.
Yeah, because I questioned about the lowest
You
bid,
did.
and because I knew this would happen.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that if I sign off, you guys have done due diligence to
That's right.
ensure that this protest comes, we're covered. So I appreciate that.
And that's why we, as a staff, this is a good board. The board asks good questions. They keep us on our toes. We are committed to coming back if we don't have the answers initially, with bringing the answers back that you can depend on, that you can repeat. And it just, and I say to staff all the time, it's not just staff, it's staff and board that makes this work. Without you all setting that good policy and holding us accountable, it doesn't work. So it's a we thing. It's not staff, it's staff and board that makes CAT what it is. And we're getting better each day. Beverly, did the grant overview get out this month? Okay, we'll be getting a lot into that in the report in January. Wanted to give you all something that just shows active grants today. So you can study it and, come back with the questions that you may have regarding outstanding grants and where we are.
Important things that we're doing with regard to the special elections. Driving and also with the director is in making sure that the recommendations that we bring to you are really fully prepared. Is that on these grants, making sure we really have increased the robustness of our practice. And when we apply for a grant, we're going to know how much that project really costs. We're going to be sure that the way that we propose the funding for the grant will ultimately cover those things, and that that we're well prepared to deliver. We're not just applying for grants because grants have come along. We're not just doing it with whatever's the specified match. A lot of grants are 80-20, but sometimes a 20% match will actually, it depends on if you didn't get your cost estimate right, then you've got to have
Absolutely.
more prepared to really deliver. So those kinds of things, we are really up in our game with the project management, financial management, and planning side to be sure that we aren't creating liabilities that make it more difficult for us to manage these really important projects.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, I was going back to communication, and I don't take the thunder. But I'm thinking of what we did, it would be your January report. The forum.
Oh, last Friday?
Yeah, that would be your January report.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
No, I just didn't want to, that's why I said I won't say anything. I knew, and I thought about it, so maybe something.
Yes, ma'am. And the yesterday's parade. MLK parade. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did good. We did. We made it.
I wrote a little bit.
All right, so I mentioned to you earlier, we are super proud to bring this forward, the Planning and Infrastructure Development Report, and we discussed this in collaboration with Director Inkster, who chairs this committee. In preparation for this, we really wanted to make sure that the robustness of the Planning and Infrastructure Development piece didn't just mimic and mirror in some ways what we were already doing in operations, but it brought new and important information about system development. So with that said, today, our focus is going to be on the key studies, including the master transit plan that we have moving forward. Next month's report is really going to anchor on equity. And then the March report will really be a lot about grant planning. You've heard from Ms. Coder on sort of that great financial piece. We'll be tag teaming together on that forecasting of grant opportunities. I also wanted to thank Denise Grabowski for being here today. Denise is the person who's leading a lot of the outreach on our master transit planning effort. She's really coordinating all that effort, and so she's going to be here also to contribute to the discussion of the master transit plan. Okay, go to the next slide. So we have 3 coordinated transit studies going on right now. The transit service plan, so the comprehensive operational analysis and TDP, the master transit plan, Connect Chatham or Chatham Connect, and then the electrification study of how we are managing that, all of that electric vehicle work within our fleet. So very exciting things to help us bring this forward. Next slide. Project schedule. Wanted to show you where we are in the process. So we're still pretty early on. There's been a lot of effort around community outreach. We've already had several stakeholder meetings, several community events. And so we're starting into that place where now in January and February, the state of the system report will be coming back to you with sort of really where are we right now in detail? Where do we stand? And then we'll be looking at establishing the vision, goals, and objectives that create that evaluation framework for the various projects and needs that we'll be assessing moving forward. So very exciting time. You can see there's also 2 additional rounds of community outreach that will be moving forward, and a really robust piece around funding and financial analysis. I know that at the meeting that Director Robinson just mentioned that we had with the Deep Center, Deep Center last week, one of the things that was brought up was a conversation around fare free. And so part of that financial analysis is going to bring you some more information around fare free considerations with regard to our service. And I think that's going to be important, as well as with a really well-developed transit investment strategy to make sure we're always well positioned to take advantage of opportunities and that they make sense within our system. Next slide.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Where are we with the looking into this first mile, last mile? I mean, I know that was going to be in the strategic plan, but I just hadn't heard anything.
That is still a critical part of this. You know, we've been working directly with the city, for example, on some of the first mile, last mile considerations around e-bikes. We've also are continuing to look at whether Uber is a part of how we can integrate into this, and that's still a consideration. But I think the really critical part of that, Director Stone, is microtransit. And you know that the SMART grant application that we submitted toward the end of last year, and we expect to be hearing from in the next couple of months, that was the whole focus of that, is rather than relying upon a privatized situation like contracting with Uber and Lyft, was to actually put into place service, microtransit service in a zone where we can check the performance, we can work within it, have opportunity to assess that performance, but do it with consistent with our sustainability outcomes of electric vehicles, and do it consistent with using our own operators and our bargaining units operators to be able to operate those vehicles. And especially with the paratransit type vehicle, the electric vehicle that Dr. Manny's working on adding, very similar vehicle type that would be available to us to explore microtransit. I think we feel pretty good about that SMART grant application, and when that comes on board, I think that's really where we're going to be able to move this forward in a way that becomes, I think, what your vision is, and a very good one, is that this really needs to be a part of the system. It doesn't need to be a little over here and a little over there thing, but it really needs to be looked at as a part of how it makes the system perform better. Okay,
because I mean, other areas use it, and I'm just trying to think of a more efficient way to reach people in outside of the center city, rather than run buses that are carrying 2 or 3 people.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things the master transit plan will also likely look at is some things we want to consider about how we currently run our fixed route system. Do we need to think about some modifications to that as we explore, to your point, of perhaps a really highly efficient micro transit zonal system that complements, enhances our fixed route, but we look at fixed route a little differently too. So I know that it feels like we're asking for a bit more patience on that, but I do think it's important in order for us to get the very best possible outcome. Next slide. So we want to talk a little bit about the activity that we've had on stakeholder and community input. We've got a private website for the master transit plan. We've had a community kickoff meeting, stakeholder interviews. We had a driver drop-in session, and we used posters, advertisements, and announcement. And if Denise doesn't mind, Denise, could you put a little more of detail to that?
And I am brought show and tell. So this is the a smaller size. We have 11 by 17 posters like this that should be in each of the neighborhood community centers throughout the city of Savannah. We had a great meeting with the neighborhood coordinators for the city and brought them up to speed about Chatham Connects and told them a little bit about what we're doing. They were going to distribute these as well as put them in Park and Moses Jackson to help increase visibility. We also have, and I regret that I did not have these on Friday, we have business cards that if you are out and about and want to talk about Chatham Connects and what we're doing, it has a QR code where somebody can go straight to the website. And there's also information on the back about how to call, email, or sign up on the website. So we have lots of these. I've just got a small stack. And I think, Ariel, you might have some of them. I'm not sure, but if not, we can get them to you. So we are, as Ms. DeMassimo said, we're kind of on the earlier side. We're getting ready to kick off some focus groups. I'm hoping to kick those off late January or February to really be able to have some deeper dive conversations. So if you know someone in particular, we're really trying to reach out in particular to the elderly and low wealth communities with those focus groups. We'll also be doing probably another follow-up focus group as an outcome of our session on Friday when we had the students, because the participation from the student side wasn't quite what some of the those involved were hoping for. We said we would go to them. So we will follow up, probably go over to Johnson High School where many of the students submitted questions from.
Next slide is about.
But you said city, but I did. What about the unincorporated?
So this, because the city has, their neighborhoods are just a little bit more organized in that way. It was just a really easy way to kind of plug and play into that. But we also definitely have, we also have the stakeholder committee that Ms. DeMassimo mentioned. We've got about, I've got the list if anyone wants to know any details. We've got all of the Coastal Georgia Indicators Coalition, Health in Savannah, a lot of great community partners that work throughout Chatham County to be able to make sure that we are reaching all areas of the community, regardless of whether or not they even have CAT service right now, because we really do want to reach all of Chatham County. So,
and we've got another slide up here to talk about a little bit about what we've been doing in terms of holding these conversations. We're talking about transit needs. We're discussing our strengths and weaknesses from the community's perspective and our partners' perspective. Collecting ideas for opportunities to improvement. You can see some of the interviews that we've already done up there, and we're just continuing to expand that. I do think the focus groups are going to be really important. One, this goes back to that earlier conversation about making sure that we're designing a system that is responsive to what the changing marketplace is out there for what we want. And the other thing that I think is really important, and I think I mentioned this to a couple of you at some recent events, is I just got done reading a book called Better Cities, Better Places. I highly recommend the read because it challenges us on what we've always thought is what, we've always typically thought of transit more in terms of, that there's riders who need us and then there's choice riders. And this challenges us and says, no, if you're running a really great transit system, because your folks that may need transit the most, they're not going to ride either if you're not running a great system. They're going to find other ways to get around also. And so what you really want to do is build a great system that is an everybody rides it system. And that is such an exciting thing to think about. And we're really trying to infuse the the inspiration of this master transit plan with that kind of thought process.
And I guess I want to answer to the question. Because what I'm looking at, what I heard was that we're putting a lot of energy in getting the information out to the city of Savannah. But there's also the unincorporated areas where, like she said, they're not as organized with these centers, but they need to know the information as well. So my question again was, what are we doing to ensure that the incorporated areas get as much information as the citizens in the city of Savannah? That's really what I'm asking.
You want to talk about?
Sure. So a couple of things. We are also going to be launching a stakeholder survey geared towards major employers. We hope to launch that very soon. And so that will go out to major employers throughout the county, and we'll also be doing additional outreach throughout the county as well. And then what was the other thing I was going to mention? In working with some of the stakeholder interviews, particularly the MPC, core MPO, public school system, and the chamber, we're also reaching out, across the county through those particular venues. Certainly, if you have ideas or suggestions or something you think that we need to be looking at,
Or particular areas.
Or
that you
particular
think
areas.
you might not feel as engaged or involved, let us know, and we will go do something special.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
there to make sure that that's getting reached.
Is there any money for, like traditional marketing, like radio?
I don't believe we have that in our budget currently, but definitely, and I was just there when you were making your note about social media. When the other thing is we've only had one kind of big, we're looking at having kind of another big public forum in the spring. So that's where we're really going to be doing a lot of because one of the things with outreach is you want to have an ask when you're going out to the broader community. Because if you just say, hey, there's a study going on, what's the incentive or what's the opportunity for them to engage? So when we have these surveys and community meetings, that will be a really great way for us to have a more dedicated ask. We'll be reaching out not only to CAT social media, but also to the PIO at Chatham County, City of Savannah, and all the municipalities to, because really it's working through existing communication networks to the maximum extent possible. That's the way we can reach the most
Public
people.
access channel, how robust is that here, and how well?
So I know the city has one, and does the county have one too? Okay. Well, I'm more than happy to reach out to Ms. Glasby at the county and see
I've always
what
been
the
a big fan of
opportunities.
the public
Yeah.
access channel and where I've ever been. It's always people go there to find out the information and see what their government's up to.
Mhm.
And so it's a good place, and it's because it's public access, certain kinds of cost things. But I will also say that the local media and the television
Yeah,
channels
I
and stuff like that, they give us really good.
Yeah.
I think the
and-
more we can kind of dig into
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
it was really nice to see, all the media at the DEEP event.
It was.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but I think that could be,
Yeah.
because a story like particularly somewhere on the front page of the Savannah Morning News is worth like, I don't know, what is that? It's like $30,000.
I think we're gonna have some interesting things to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna just be that we want to hear what you think.
Mhm.
It's gonna be, we've got something to show.
Well, I think that's what we do get a story.
Yeah, and what we'd love to do when we get to that point where we have that story to really start sharing to the community is set up a press conference where we can specifically invite the media, have Mr. Massimo speak about it so that we have a story to tell versus, hey, we're just doing this. So we just want to make sure that we have that story.
Nobody's that
Yeah.
excited about a plan.
Right,
It's something
exactly.
that's gonna be, I think, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I was also thinking about the organizations, Parent University is 100 adults.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
even
absolutely.
places Like that,
Absolutely.
they come from all over.
Mhm. Yep, Parent University, Step Up Savannah.
Exactly.
Yes, we have all of those organizations that
Step Up
are
Savannah's
plugged in.
very active.
They've been very active, yeah, for sure. Certainly, if there are other organizations, we will.
No, please let us know, because we appreciate your thought process
Mhm.
on that. This is something that I think is gonna be very interesting to folks, is the results from some of this, the transit market assessment. Some of it is the stuff that you might think of, and some of it is a little interesting and different around, where's the market moving in terms of population density, socioeconomic characteristics, employment density, development patterns, activity patterns, travel patterns, and so forth. There's things that we all kind of know when we live here, but there's also some things that go, really? And so I think these are gonna be the kinds of things that we can put out there that will keep folks interest. And we're likely to get a whole lot more, robust engagement into the process than just saying, what do you think about it? Next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. The strongest transit markets in Chatham County are downtown Savannah, the hospital district, and the commercial strip along Arrowcorn. And we are looking at, especially in the hospital district, what are some new and different and interesting opportunities with higher capacity transit that might be able to serve that area really well and that we currently have been offering. We talked about high quality, more frequent, longer hours bus service on North, South, and East West corridors. And then back to the matters that I know Director Stone has been particularly interested in with regard to first mile, last mile, but micro transit and mobility on demand service that's outside the port area. I think that's the place, Director Robinson, where we're going to make a difference in those parts of the county that fixed route just doesn't reach very well and wouldn't be a cost-effective way to provide transit in those areas. These micro transit zones are going to be a great growth opportunity for us. So we talk about, next slide, comparing transit supply and demand. You can see a little bit here with the peak demand and supply and demand in blue. Noting where we have those opportunities, and the purple is where we're well matched on supply and demand. So you can see we have both opportunities and notions of how to think differently, but we've also got some places where we're actually doing pretty well. So again, what are the potential strategies here? Improving service and frequency in parts of the Savannah County, commuter service to Garden City, Schuler Airport, and Richmond Hill. I'm particularly excited about the fact that both with Garden City and Port Wentworth, we have service expansions underway, but great opportunities there. And of course, we're doing very well with the airport and the service that we're providing out there, and it's seasonal service to Tybee Island as all potential strategies for discussion. Next slide. Most of the travel is currently within downtown Savannah. The strong markets are from hospitals to Savannah State and to commercial parts of Arrowcorn. So we're looking at higher quality service again on those north, south, and east west corridors, and transit or mobility outside of downtown Savannah. Again, that's the way that we can effectively reach into parts of the community that we currently are serving, to be able to move people to the places that they need to go. Next slide. Regional markets, Park and Ride and Commuter Express, and we've been talking about and we're looking at that. We are really blessed that we have great relationships with our other state partners. And so the ATL SRTA Greta in Atlanta is looking at some Commuter Express buses that they may have available to offer us that we could rebrand and be able to use in some of these Commuter Express needs that we have, especially around all the emerging economic activity that's happening around us. And this may also be an opportunity for van pool and transportation demand management kinds of services. But if they bring those in, one of the things that we're looking at, you need parking rides to support that, but rather than build parking rides, what we want to do is look at places where there's excess parking capacity. Maybe that's a church with a big parking lot that is not usually Monday through Friday. Maybe it's a huge Walmart with a lot of excess capacity. But where are some of those existing parking areas around the area that can help us move people to some of these places, especially jobs that are developing all around us? Strongest demand from the regional market is between Effingham and Chatham. Strong demand is also between Bullock, Statesboro, and Chatham, so connections to the local system, Georgia Southern campus connections, and that's going to require a thing that I think we do really well, which is partnerships and collaboration. So talking to our county partners, looking at how we can offer commuter services and so forth is something that we are exploring deeply as a part of this. Next slide. Next slide. Challenges and opportunities, the workforce continuing, it's the same thing that we have with our day-to-day service now, continuing to be able to attract and retain drivers, making sure that we're matching our network to the service level demand, and thinking about if the network is actually shrinking. How do we alter what we have and how do we expand, for example, this more on-demand or kind of service in a way that then helps to meet the demand that and the need that is growing. Emerging funding issues, our COVID funding that provided for temporary cushion will start to run out, but you've seen in our regular financial reports, we've been planning ahead for that with your leadership. And then, of course, there's some political resistance. There's areas that are interested in transit and paying for it. There's areas that aren't. And again, I think that goes back to making sure that we demonstrate that we are a good partner to partner with. We run ourselves in a financially, with financial integrity. We provide good and reliable service and so forth. So part of that is overcoming it by showing that we can do the job. The fact that we have a lot of new leadership, the fact that we're developing those partnerships and we're doing it around a lot of different things, because transportation is never just about transportation. It's also about housing and quality of life. And we're looking at our partnerships that do all those things. Stabilizing our capital assets, the securing new funding, the electrification of our fleet, technology and new service models. How interested we are in microtransit. And then federal grant funds, being competitive for those that are being reviewed by the Federal Transit Administration and within USDOT and other federal agencies that provide this kind of support as a good and reliable partner that we're going to deliver quality. Next slide. So our potential priorities are to look at how we expand geographically, expanding our service areas, looking at new markets, investing in our existing services. We can't forget the core services that we have and how do we make sure that they're the best. Trying new service types, whether that's microtransit or expanding the sustainable infrastructure with what we already are building on the leadership we provided to electric vehicles. Expanding our ferry services, we're continuing to look at that, offering commuter services, and then improving passenger facilities. I know that's something that this board has expressed an interest in, and we have continued to work on in terms of, Dr. Manny can talk about this. This is another one of those times when I walked to Dr. Manny's office and said, okay, I need for us to do X. And so this was right over here on Waters. There was a lady who was standing out at one of our stops right up here with a walker, and there's nothing there but a sign. And I went, well, we can't do this. Well, I've seen actually several like that. And so Dr. Manny and our operations team got right out there and we're making sure that there's benches, that there's lighting if it's a place where we can do that. But we're starting to, even in modest ways, improve those facilities to make sure that every rider needs to feel that they're respected in their use of our transit system.
Not like as if you had Dr. Manny out in the community looking around.
We're all out.
That's great.
You got all kind of eyes. We report to each other all the time. All right, next slide. Yes, sir.
I see Wi-Fi. Are you talking about Wi-Fi in the buses?
Wi-Fi in the buses.
Yeah, and the buses and some stuff will have shelters. They will have Wi-Fi also.
You have Wi-Fi downtown.
Yeah, I was kind of interested in that too, because if we're talking about the benches, I'd like to see how we're going to be able to secure that, sustain that in a way that it doesn't become a burden financially.
On the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, but it's feasible.
It is, in Rockbridge, when they did, it's only the super shelters that own them, not all the bus stops. The super shelters are like 45 feet long. It's more like where they have Wi-Fi connected and with solar on the roof, all that stuff, power. Yeah. I have an example like.
But every shelter should have a place for you to wait, and that you're respected,
Yeah, that part,
and that you can be
yeah.
seated. Because many of our passengers they're older and maybe they need to be able to sit and so forth. So we've got to think about those things and be both strategic, but also be very impactful in what we do there.
But one of the other things too is you can have a shelter on one side and shelter on the other, and they're not equal.
No,
Because-
absolutely.
You see, because you got like one side, you got a shelter, you got a trash can, and you get right across the street where the outgoing bus may be coming. It's not equitable to what's on one side.
So
So
if you see those, you tell us what they are.
And also in the future, we wanna make sure that we have super shelters. And we have a schedule, this thing I shared out with you. What is designed is 45 feet, and we put it at places where we think user high spot, like where we have most of our riders using that spot. So,
Give us an example of a super shelter.
oh yeah, I have a picture to show you.
I mean, do we already have super shelters?
No, we don't.
We don't have
No,
those.
it's in the plan. I sent it to
We have
you.
locations that.
Yeah,
All right, so example projects, let's go back to that. Example projects are to expanding, we just sort of talked through these, I will read that off to you again. But the solar panels, making sure that we expand electric buses, the things we're talking about now about making sure that we are looking at the demand that's there and what are new products like a super shelter that we need to put in certain places where it makes sense and is sustainable. Next slide. So the CAP Board of Director priorities, one of the things I didn't know if, I hope you all remember this, but when we had our, we were down at the convention center and we had the day and you all put dots, and I wanted you to know, we never forgot. Those things have been in my office the whole time, and we've been working with this group, so we're looking at things, these are the things that you all put forward as priority. And we're making sure that all 9 priority threads that you created during your work effort are being woven all the way through this master transit plan. So when we're done, we'll see your leadership abundantly present. Next slide. Upcoming activities is the state of system report. We're doing an employee survey to talk about how people use the system and what are the kinds of improvements that we can make. Focus group meetings that Denise mentioned also earlier with seniors, those with low wealth and disadvantaged communities, and then stakeholder team meetings are continuing. We do those every week right now. Or not, I'm sorry, not stakeholder meetings, team meetings of the team that's working on this. We do every week, but stakeholder team meetings, you saw those scheduled on the earlier schedule. Next slide.
Tell me the state of system report, that's what we get from our.
The state of the system report will look at us from a broad perspective and talk about what does our system look like now versus what does that market assessment look like and how do those things match or not? And what does that mean about the state of our system in terms of the kinds of things that the master transit plan would suggest that growing or changing? That's in-house. We will distribute it to the board and it will be a part of the reporting that comes out of the master transit plan.
And so this is the report that's being done by the Nelson Nygaard team that's leading the development of the master transit plan. And they're compiling the state of the system report. So once it's reviewed by Ms. DeMassimo, we will make it available obviously to the board and also post it on the website.
And it'll
The system report by definition is what's happening inside Chattanooga Transit.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I don't wish everybody understood.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it will also incorporate the work effort that's coming out of the Conference of Operational Analysis Transit Development Plan, which remember that's really sort of that nuts and bolts stuff versus the more vision growth system development kinds of stuff.
You know, one biggest takeaway, Mr. Report,
Yes,
is
sir.
the fact that you're preparing for the growth that's going to be coming in Chattanooga. And we're going to be prepared for it.
We are. It's an exciting.
It's very exciting.
No, they're hooking up water to my cafe right now, and I have to go catch that. Is this recorded?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I'm gonna catch it there.
One thing that you might want to catch a really quick glimpse of before you go is the, we'll get down to it. That is the TSLOS priority project list. I provided it to you all before we talked about it a little bit today.
Yeah,
So,
great.
okay.
Catch me up.
Also, everybody who was on the ad hoc committee, to take those rides on the buses, if I can get your report back to myself and the students by Thursday, anything that you may find, good and bad, not just the stuff we need to work on, but also the good. So that way I can report it by next Tuesday.
Like I said, and I hope everybody appreciates this distinctiveness that we're making now between the planning and infrastructure development report and the operations report. They really are very different pieces of CAP.
That's making us aware.
All right, so next we'll go to the proposed board action items for consent. Sure.
On the service delivery officers.
Dr. Manny or Ms. Cutter, you want to talk a bit about, I guess, Dr. Manny, the drug and alcohol policy provision?
Man, the only thing I saw in red was the name change.
Yeah, because, yeah, that's me acting both chief of safety and chief of operations.
That was the only change.
We did also some changes about, so what happened is that they did an audit and we should have updated our drug policy, which wasn't. So the update is like who is, if you look on the last page real quick, you're gonna see we call something SAP. They wanted to know who on page 16. That was another big change that was put on there.
Okay.
Yeah, so our name wasn't on there on the previous report. Yeah, so this one shows like the numbers to call. And also another big change that we did. In the past, we didn't have the 24-hour service, what is required by FDA, that on the random test, people have to be tested weekends and after hours. So let's say if a bus is coming in at 10 p.m., that driver can be tested randomly when it gets to the drive. We didn't have a vendor that was open that hours. So now we have one in place. And so if you look on the page 16, that vendor's name, phone number is all on there. So that was some of the changes that we did.
Really, just addressing compliance.
Yeah, in compliance, yeah.
And react to the
Yeah.
FDA.
So the FDA, the
Yeah, our actual sheet is, I guess what I was looking for was the red, and I didn't see any red, like on my 16, there was no red, so I will change it.
oh, you mean the changes from the previous one? Oh, okay, I think we can say.
It's okay, it's okay.
Yeah, so this one pretty much was a template recommended by the FDA. And they wanted a drug and alcohol policy separate from what we had previously, where safety and everything was together. So we used that template, and that's the drug and alcohol policy that we want the board to approve.
This would be effective for all employees.
Yeah. All right.
Class 7 intergovernmental agreement. This is the same agreement that was just approved by the Chatham County Commission, and now we're bringing it to the final approval. Again, subject to appreciative of the relationship with Chatham County, and excited to get our SPLOST 7 agreement fully executed and in place. So I don't know if there's any questions about that. It's just standard, it's a standard IGA. The next item is the future SPLOST project program list. And the reason we're bringing this to you now is there's already, and Director Adams mentioned this to me as the meeting was starting, there's already conversations. There's no time frame set for a future SPLOST yet, but there's certainly conversations going on around the need for it, both in the county and within the city. And we are being asked as CAT, which is a great thing, to be at the table for those discussions and be able to reflect CAT's needs now. And so we want to be sure that this is something that's been provided previously, but we want to be sure that at this point, this is a saying that yes, this is a list you can support for us to carry forward into those staff level conversations that you're aware of. So you can see there's a couple of things in here that are I think interesting in this proposed list. One is that there is a proposal in here for operating dollars. Athens, the Athens transit system in their SPLOST is currently able to fund operations, and there was a legal opinion that said that was a cost that could be made available under SPLOST funding. Normally, I know we all think of SPLOST as being capital funding, but there is an interpretation that they are already actively using specifically some operations. So we plug in some funding for operations dollars. And then you can see, we know that we need capital dollars, and these are all, keep in mind, serve in a match capacity, because remember, we can always go leverage those other partnership dollars, federal dollars, and perhaps even state dollars. But we need to be in a local match position. So you can see we put in there EV, the expansion of our electric buses, expansion of micro transit or getting micro transit started, electric charging infrastructure. That's going to be really important that we're able to collaborate with the county and with the cities with regard to how we place charging infrastructure throughout the community, especially when we look at micro transit and reaching out more deeply into the parts of Chatham County that may not have service right now. Got to have charging infrastructure to run these vehicles. Supporting smart technology and system resiliency. So that's making sure we all know that we got to keep up with technology both inside the house as well as out in the field. So this is the kinds of things that we're going to need to support the efficiency and effectiveness of fleet operations and management. And then the last one is on system amenities. And we just got done talking about how important it is that we modernize and upgrade our shelters and amenities infrastructure, including solar connections and all that. That's where, you know, our stops and our shelters are where a person's ride starts. It's not when they get on the bus. It's when they're waiting to board. And we want those to be a great experience. And that's a place where we have so much room for opportunity and improvement. We listed the T-SPOS guidelines down here, but so what we would be looking at is $21.5 million reflection in the T-SPOS that is proposed and put forward whenever that is done. But again, this enables us to begin a good conversation with those in the community that are already considering when this might happen. And you see it will also enable us to be able to leverage with our typical 80-20 match leverage to release those dollars to deliver these kinds of projects.
The T-SPOS is voted on by the citizens.
It is.
And I think until we find a way to educate the citizenry, we're gonna, we put this stuff out here, we use all these acronyms that we know what they mean, right? But we don't take the time to educate our community, and we wonder why things don't get passed. And the importance of transit is, I just encourage our sitting aldermen and commissioners to find a way within your region to educate these folks on how important this is. And until you do that, we're gonna, hoping and wishing, but not getting the vote enough to get these things passed. So education is critical as far as I'm concerned.
And we have to get on the same page for city and county, in order to sell this for the public, let the public know how it benefits. That's the biggest thing, let them know how it would benefit the public.
One thing I've heard, and I think this gets to what Director Robinson is talking about as well as what you're saying, Director Lockett. One of the things that I've heard, certainly from my neighbors right here, but also from lots of folks, is when they hear lost, it's lost, T-SPOS, it sounds like a whole bunch of taxes being thrown at you. And I think one of the things that will be super helpful, whether it goes out as an insert in your utility bills or whatever, but just something really simple and easy that says, this is what LOST is and here's what it is. This is what a SPLOST is and here's what it does. This is what a T-SPLOST is and there's what it does. And here's what E-SPLOST is and here's what it does. And in that way, you just have something pretty simple, just a card that you can look at and go, okay, now I kind of see how it all fits together. Or you can say, well, that maybe how it fits together, but I don't like it. But you can understand it instead of it just feeling like we're always throwing acronyms at you, or we're always throwing something else that you don't really understand the benefit. But do it in a really simple, easy sort of way for people.
And not really tell time to vote.
Yeah, start early.
Keep it simple.
But on this list, on our JET program list, will this change or could this change?
It could. Right now, it's just to give us a starting point for discussion, and our master transit plan might change it.
Right.
But it's at least giving us a way to show what we can do and how we will use money in a way that at least all of our partners that we've got to be, working with, county, cities and others, we can get on the same page and we can at least understand how do things fit together for us. But no, this is far from final, but it gives us a good place to start and at least express intentions.
Well, just get it off and do it.
All right, well, I think that's it, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Chairman.
Thank you. for January 24th, which we will be going to the 2023 litigation committee. We should have all the information clarified the next board. And on our next board meeting will be January 24th, 2023. Thank you everybody for coming out. We had a very great staff presentation from especially from Dr. Manning and Ms. Cutter, also our CEO, along with all the other staff in the room. Ariel, great job today, Dion, and Dr. Thank all our board members having a great meeting today. And
No.
all right, so this time we would like to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you. As always.
Take care.
As long as y'all don't believe I was.